Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. I'm really excited because we're going to be checking out some of the Fenty liquid highlighters. So I picked these up in 3 different shades. I got Vintage Velour, which is that pinky shade. I got Hustla Baby 2.0, which is the peachy shade, and Butta Brownie, which is the bronzy shade. So we're going to be doing some swatches of these, and then we're going to play around with them on the face. We're going to apply them in different ways and see what we think about them. So before we get started, if you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. On this channel, we do makeup videos and they cater to the 40 and over crowd, but makeup lovers of all ages are welcome. So please subscribe while you're here. I would love to have you join and I would really appreciate your support. Okay, y'all, let's get started. Okay, so these are supposed to be like liquid versions of the Killawatt highlighters. So we're going to be doing a comparison swatch of one of the powder highlighters in a minute. So they describe this as a super fine liquid highlighter that has a buildable skin nourishing formula. It's supposed to leave a fresh, ultra modern shine. And they suggest that you apply it to the high points of your face, like your nose and your cheekbones. And it says take it to the next level by adding a pop of it to the eye area for extra dimension. So like I said, we're going to apply it in a few different ways just to kind of play around with it. So let's start off with some swatches first. So this first one is Vintage Velour. Ooh, that's really pretty. So this one is Vintage Velour. It's like a pinky, like icy shade. If you're new here, I love like cool tone makeup, so I know this isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea, but this is like really pretty to me. And for those of you who aren't new here, I know y'all get sick and tired of me talking about cool tone makeup all the time, but you know, just for the people who might be here for the first time. Okay, so this next one is Hustla Baby 2.0. This one is supposed to be kind of like a peachy shade, and I don't know, now I'm not sure which one I'm gonna like best between the pink one and the peachy one. So that next one is Hustla Baby 2.0. And then this last one, I was just very interested in this one, and I kept going back and forth between this, which is Butta Brownie, and what's the other shade called? Butta Brownie and Honey Hottie. I kept going back and forth between those 2 shades, but I decided to get this one. This is really pretty too, and I'm wondering if I can get away with that as kind of like a bronze, maybe on the cheeks. I think it's going to be a little too like platinum to use it on my forehead, but I feel like on the cheek, maybe I can use that as kind of like a bronzer slash highlighter. So let me know which one y'all like best. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, I can't really decide between the first 2, but I do like all of them. They're really nice and they're really like metallic looking. So these aren't blended out yet, so of course they're not going to look like that on the face. But before we apply it to the face, I just want to compare the level of shine to one of the powder highlighters. So this one is in the shade Ginger Binge and Moscow Mule. So I think I'm going to take this more shimmery shade here because that one definitely has like more shimmer than the other one. So this one is Moscow Mule. Yeah, so I think it does have pretty much the same amount of shine as the powder highlighters, and remember they're not blended in yet. So these swatches look really good, so I'm looking forward to trying these out. Okay, I think I'm going to start off with the lightest shade. This one is Vintage Velour. So this first swatch here, I'm going to apply this underneath my foundation. I just want to see what it looks like on bare skin. Then we'll put some foundation on and see if there's a glow through the foundation. So I think I'm just going to dot it on the high points of my cheek. And let's start off with just blending this in. It's a really nice creamy formula so far. I mean, it still has to kind of set on the skin after I blend it in, but the way that it feels right now, it feels really nice and creamy, and it's blending in really nicely too. So I did go a little overboard, but that's fine because like I said, I'm gonna be putting foundation on top of this. But what do y'all think about how it looks on bare skin? I think if I were to wear this on my bare skin, I would probably either apply less of this. I think this looks nice, but probably this middle shade would be better for me like on my bare skin. But so far, very promising. Now I will say this side over here, it is blending out, but it is a little more difficult to blend out over here because it's been sitting for a little bit. So it is definitely still blending out, but it was just a little bit more difficult to get that to blend. So you don't necessarily have to work like pretty fast with these, but you will work a little bit harder if you let it sit. Just to keep them even though, I'm gonna put a little bit more over here. Yeah, they blend in really nicely when you blend them in right away. So let me know what y'all think. It is like a really, really nice highlight. I don't even wear highlighter like that anymore. But of course Fenty got me and I had to just try these out. So this over here, it feels like it's kind of set. So this has been sitting for like a couple minutes. It does feel like it's kind of set, but it's not like drying at all. So I think if you were interested in using any of these shades as kind of like a base on your whole face under your makeup, I think you could do that just fine because it does set down, but it's not drying. Like it still feels really comfortable on the skin. So let me know what y'all think. So let me put on a little bit of foundation and let's see how it looks underneath the foundation. So I'm going to go in with my Fenty skin tint. I'm going to be mixing in shades 15 and 17. So for the most part, I'm just going to apply the skin tint like I normally would, but I am going to try to hit this area last, just so that a good amount of the highlighter is still, you know, peeking through. And I think I'm going to build it up a little bit just so that we can really test like how well it peeks through. Like so far, I feel like you can still really see the highlighter through the skin tint. And remember, this is a skin tint, so it's not going to give me full coverage anyway, but I just don't think that you should expect for any liquid highlighter to really peek through like a full coverage foundation anyway, which is why I wanted to go in with a skin tint for today. Because this one, it's a skin tint, but it still gives pretty good coverage. So again, I'm just kind of like blending around the liquid highlighter first, and then I'll go back and I'll build it up. Okay, so what are we thinking? I think that I'm still getting a pretty nice glow underneath my skin tint, but I am going to build it up just a little bit. I'm going to go in with just a little bit more of 17. And I always like to build up my second layer and like concentrate that on my cheeks just to cover up my spots on my cheeks. I feel like I say the same thing in every video, but you know, I have to explain some things just in case there are new people here. So I feel like even after adding that second layer, I do think that I'm still seeing a really nice glow underneath my skin tint. So I think it looks really pretty. Even on this side, I put a little bit less on this side, but I still think it's like peeking through. So I think it looks really nice. I'm going to quickly put on some concealer and then I'm going to put another color on top of the foundation, so we'll see how that looks like. So really quickly, I'm going in with my Anastasia concealer. This one is in the shade 15. I'm setting just my concealer with my Kosas Cloud Set Powder. This one is in the shade Pillowy. And before I set the rest of my face, I want to apply another shade on top of the foundation. So I think I'm going to use this shade down here, Butta Brownie. I think I'm going to apply that like right underneath where I put that first shade. And let's see if maybe we could use this as kind of like a bronzer slash highlighter on my cheeks. So I'm going to place this kind of right here. That's kind of where I would put my bronzer if I were using like a powder bronzer. So I have it over here already and I want that to kind of just sit for a minute so that I can see if the same thing happens if it kind of gets a little more difficult to blend out. So maybe I just need to add more. Like I can see that shade, but it's like very faint. So let me blend this out over here, and then I'll go in and I will add a little bit more. Let me know if y'all can see it. It's more faint than I was expecting, but I can see it. I don't think I would put this on my forehead as a bronzer, but I think it looks nice on the cheeks. Like it's showing up, it's just more faint than I was expecting. So I'm gonna build that one up a little bit. Now over here, I feel like it did blend out a little easier. After it set for a minute, it blended out a little bit easier on top of the foundation. Just so you'll know. I'm kind of blending like in an upward motion, just because that's how I would normally apply my bronzer. What do you guys think? It's definitely noticeable, but this particular color, I probably can't really use it like that because it's noticeable, but it's just not quite as noticeable as like a powder bronzer that I would typically wear. So I just don't know like how much use I would get out of this particular color, but let me know what y'all think. I feel like I can still see this one though really nicely underneath my foundation. You know what? I am going to apply this on my forehead just so that we can kind of see it. I feel like it'll show up a little bit more on the forehead. And if I don't like it, I can always like go over it with something else. But I'm going to go for it. Can you guys see that color before I blend it out? It's a really, really pretty color. Really nice and bronzy. Can you guys make it out any more on the forehead? It's like very faint on my skin tone. So yeah, I just wouldn't be able to use this. It's just giving me like a very light highlight, but it's not really doing too much, but that's more so just how it's showing up against my skin tone. So I think you have to be a lot lighter or a lot darker than me to really appreciate this particular color. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit of powder bronzer on. I think I'm just gonna do on my forehead. I don't really want to cover this up because I want it to keep showing, just because we're kind of, you know, testing it out. So just on my forehead, I'm gonna go in with my Fenty powder bronzer. This one is in the shade Cocoa Naughty, and I'm just gonna stick with that same brush and just kind of go over that liquid highlighter a little bit. So a lot of people like in my complexion range would probably prefer that other shade called Honey Haughty because it's not quite as dark as this one and it's a little bit more on like the yellow side. But I wanted to go with this one because this one is more of like a bronzy type color, and it was kind of hard for me to pick one between the two off of the swatches. But I don't really like yellowy type bronzers and highlighters, so that's why I went with this one. But that other one might be a better bet for people in like my complexion range. And I'm also gonna put a little bit of this down the center of my nose because I don't think I would want to use the liquid highlighter on my nose as like a bronzer. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on my nose. I'm gonna take my ABH Primrose palette and I'm gonna apply this shade here as a little bit of blush. And I think I'm still gonna stick with this same brush, really just because I don't feel like trying to find my other brush for today. So I'm just gonna stick with this one. Just adding a little bit of color to the face. I'm just using my foundation brush just to kind of soften it back out because that blush, this wasn't really the right brush to use. That blush is really pigmented and that brush was just too dense. So I'm just using my foundation brush to try and soften that back out. And then I'm gonna set the rest of my face. I'm gonna go back into my Kosas powder and just set all over. And then we're going to take the last shade. This is Hustla Baby 2.0. So this is like the peachy shade. And I am going to try applying this on my nose. I don't even remember the last time I put highlighter down the center of my nose. But I'm going to try it for today just to see what this shade looks like. And I might also put some of this on the high points of my cheek on top of that peachy or the pink shade. So I think that color is really nice. It's a little too much for me, or maybe I just applied too much. So I'm just going on top of that with my foundation brush. But that color is really nice, but I am going to also put some of it on the cheek just so that we can see this color a little bit better. So I'm really just going right on top of where I put the, on top of where I put that peachy shade. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite color. I think it complements my skin tone the best. I really like that. So if you're in my complexion range, I wear shades 17 in the skin tint, and I wear shade 340 in the Fenty foundation. So if you're somewhere around there, I feel like Hustla Baby 2.0 would be a really pretty color. That's really, really pretty. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the rest of that color, the Hustla Baby 2.0 that I have on my finger here, and I'm just applying this as an inner corner highlight. And again, I think that looks really, really pretty up against my skin tone. And it does say that you can use these liquid highlighters as a pop on your eyelids. Now, I'm really hesitant to do that because I have really oily eyelids. This is like a really liquidy formula, and it feels like it's quite hydrating. So I think if I were to put this on my eyelids, I think they would crease up really, really fast. It's really nice and subtle in my inner corner, and I like the way this looks, but I do want to build it up just a little bit, just so that we can see what that looks like. Yeah, I think this is a really pretty color for my skin tone. I do still wish that they had like a typical like rose gold, I was about to say flavor, rose gold color, but this one is really, really pretty. So let me know what y'all think about that on the eyes. I just wanted to test it out on the eyes just so that we could see it. But like I said, I wouldn't really put this like on the eyelid over the eyeshadow if you have oily eyelids like me. So I'm gonna quickly put on some lipstick and like finish up my look, and then I will come back and I will give y'all my final thoughts on these liquid highlighters. Okay guys, my final thoughts on these liquid highlighters. I really, really like them so far. I like the way that they blend it out. I did have just a little bit more trouble trying to blend it out underneath my skin tint as opposed to on top of the skin tint, but overall it blends out really nicely. When I blended it out underneath the foundation, if you blend out as soon as you apply it, it blends out really nicely, but under the foundation, if you let it sit for a little bit, I noticed that it did tug like ever so slightly on the skin, but like I said, not like a huge deal. You would barely notice it, but you know, you notice things more when you're testing them out. On top of the foundation though, whether you blend it out right away or you let it sit, in my opinion, it blends out just fine either way on top of the skin tint. I think I said earlier that if you're interested in trying this out as a base underneath your foundation, I think that this would be a good product for that because it feels really nice and smooth, nice and hydrating on the skin. It doesn't feel as moisturizing as like a facial moisturizer, but it's definitely not drying on the skin to the point where I do think that you could wear it underneath your foundation. And in terms of like my favorite color, so this color right here, Hustla Baby 2.0, I think it looks really, really pretty. I do wish that Fenty would think about adding a nice rose gold shade, but until they do, this shade is just really pretty. So if you're not sure like what shade you want to try out and you're in my complexion range, definitely try this one out because I can't stop looking in my viewfinder because I think it looks really, really nice. This shade, I'll probably be picking this up a lot. The other two I'm not sure about. Like this one I'll probably give away to somebody, and this one I just don't know if I'm going to reach for it like that. But Hustla Baby 2.0 is a winner in my book, but the formula was really good for all of the shades that I tried out today. So those are my final thoughts. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.